Alright people, welcome to Plants, Tissues and Cells. Today is going to be a busy day. We're going to do a couple lessons today because we have a lot of time. So let's talk about meristems. Well, what are meristems? So meristems, they are how plants grow, essentially. Well, plants, they grow in two ways. They have length and circumference. So let's talk about growth and length first, which occurs in an area called meristems. These are regions of extremely fast dividing cells. And these cells aren't just normal cells either. They are quite literally stem cells. They can become anything. That's how these plants they grow taller. These cells that can become anything can be, vascular or ground or dermal, and just because they can become anything, it will increase and grow in length because we'll constantly have different types of cells developing. Now, they are separated into two types of meristems, apical and intercalary. There's no much difference, alright? There's not much difference, and all the difference between them is that they are at different locations. So apical are found at the tip, very top part, very tip of the roots and stems. It allows plants to grow taller. As you can see, it's going up, of course. Intercalary meristems are located along the stem, at the base of leaf blades. So leaf blades is somewhere right here, and within the stem. Yep. So these growth that enables the plant to grow taller, they are called primary growth. And the plants will grow entirely throughout their cell life, throughout their plant life. They will never ever, unless they lack some nutrients or sunlight, they will never stop growing. Now, the other type of meristems that's responsible for circumference growth, or to say secondary growth. This type of growth is basically made up and being facilitated by lateral meristems. So lateral meristems primarily includes two parts: vascular, cambium, and cork. So vascular, it produces new vascular tissue, just like its name. It produces them throughout the plant. And cork cambium, on the other hand, is responsible for creating tough protective outer layer, mainly found in woody plants, like trees, of course. This growth makes sure that the plant actually is growing bigger and fatter and not just growing upwards, or essentially the up is going to tilt and your plant is going to fall over, and essentially your plant might die. Dermal tissue. So dermal tissue is probably the easiest one to remember. It's a single layer of thick protective cells. In woody plants, the epidermis is replaced by a perderm made of cork. So it's another layer made out of cork, basically. Now, specialized epidermal cells, like guard cells, they control the stomata to regulate gas movement, while trichomes and root hairs, they improve protection and absorption. Now, dermal tissue is absolutely crucial for protecting plants and facilitating interactions with the local environment that's outside, like taking in carbon dioxide and breathing out water or vapor, whatever. Now we're gonna talk about specialized epidermal tissues. So we have guard cells. So guard cells, it essentially surrounds the stomata. If you didn't know, stomata is that little opening here. It controls the movement of gases. By gases, we basically mean H2O, and we mean like carbon dioxide, and we mean other gases that the plants need to get rid of. Trichomes. They are fuzzy, hair-like structure. They keep the surfaces cool, and they can secrete substances. Ooh, delicious. Now, root hairs, well, it's in the root, as it says. It will increase the surface area, and just like villi and other stuff that increase the surface area, it basically means there will be more water absorption. Ground tissue. Ground tissue serves a wide range of purpose. It depends on what the plant need, basically. It can perform photosynthesis, like mesophyll cells. It can store starches or oils or whatever food that the plant need for energy. And it can support by growing with other tissues, basically. It's made up of 3 type of cell inside of the plant. Parenchyma cells, thin-walled and flexible for a lot of functions. Collenchyma cells and sclerenchyma cells. So collenchyma cells, it's uneven walls. It has flexible support, allows the plants to bend. Now sclerenchyma cells, their thick walls are made out of lignin. It provides strength. However, once matured, they will die, which is not so fun. Ground tissue cells. Yeah, well, I already talked about this. You can see thick wall, primarily support. They die when it matured. Many functions, spherical shape. You don't need to know that, I think. And they have flexible, uneven walls. Yeah, pretty much. Vascular tissue, xylem. So xylem is the thing that we probably heard in grade 9 and 10 to be like, okay, what's this? And then we don't remember anything. Well, xylem is one of the vascular tissues. It has water movement, basically. That's what it does. It transports water throughout the whole plant, from the root to the leaves. Now, water movement, you will learn this in grade 12. It's a passive movement. It doesn't cost the plant any energy. The plant doesn't need to facilitate, like, let's say, a whole protein cell wall or a protein membrane to control what's coming in or what's coming out. It's completely based on osmosis and the solute and solvent concentration that you learn in grade 12 chemistry, or 11, I suppose. So they have trichids, which is taper at the end, and also they also have vessel elements. That's long continuous tubes, as you can see on the right. Interestingly, both of these cell types, they die upon maturity, and they form hollow tubes that will efficiently conduct water. So essentially they die, but after they die, they serve a purpose. Gymnosperms only have trichids, or trachids, or whatever how you like to pronounce it, but potato or tomato, same thing. Now, transport of water is a passive process. It never takes any energy for water to transport. As we learn in grade 10 science, osmosis occurs any single time and at every single moment. And osmosis being generalized is more called diffusion. So when you, let's take a bad example. When you fart in your room and immediately you leave where you farted and you head to the door, you will realize that your fart is coming to the door instead of coming to other places. Even though your walls, even though you don't have an isolated system in your room, your walls, your fart likely, the odor likely won't pass through the walls. So when they can't pass the walls, they will realize, oh, this room is full of this odor. This room is full of this gas, this chemical. So I gotta go to some other places. So now when you open your door and you stand right in front of it, you realize, oh, it's coming to me. It's diffusion that's happening. It will always move from high concentration to low concentration. And another thing that acts along with this is that high nutrients concentration within the plant. So, oh no, they do a chemistry thing. They had a chemistry tab. Let me find it. So they had this where you move your water into like a, let's say, a solute that's probably, let's say, sugar. So you have half of the place filled with sugar and you have the other half filled with pure water. So when you open and you put the half together, you will realize you will come to a water level, and then when you put it down back up, you pull it down back up and separate the two parts into two halves. You will realize and then you suck the water out of one side, the other side is gonna have and then you put water back in, the other side is gonna have more water. So let me show. Okay, yeah, so this is what I was talking about. You see, lower solute, higher solute. the water will essentially move to the section with lower cell U. And keep in mind, both of these have water in them. This one has water, that one also has water. Both of them have water in them. It's that the water likes to dissolve more cell U. And as well, this side had less water. So eventually they're going to come to a balancing point somewhere here, and then the water level is going to be the same. But you just got to understand that water moves not only because of the concentration outside is higher than the concentration within the roots, but rather there are more nutrients inside of the root and less nutrients in the soil, which will also cause them to move. All right, that's back to the presentation. So root pressure. So what is root pressure? So minerals are moved by active transport into the roots. And when I mean active, when you say active transport, you know that something is doing something. There's someone or some cells that's being active. So whether it's a protein membrane that's constantly taking the receiver cells, using their receiver cells to catch some minerals inside and moving them, or whatever, you just gotta know that a cell is using energy to transport these minerals. Water moved by osmosis will eventually follow. And when they follow, the pressure will pushes the water up the xylem tissue. Because if you remember, water has a funny property. It's adhesion and cohesion. It sticks down to other things because they're polar, and it sticks to itself because of hydrogen bonding. Sometimes this force, this pressure push, it can only push water so far that eventually water is going to climb up by itself. Now when the water climb into those leaves, the leaves will open their stomata, as you learn, and the water will fall out. And that is called transpiration pull. This controls the long distance of water because water's hydrogen bond is just incredibly strong. Cohesion tension model is how we explain it, but you need to pretty much understand. So heat causes the water to lose from the leaves, meaning that the water will be evaporated into H2O gas. Now H2O gas, it doesn't mean that it changes state, it loses all forces. No. It does change state and it does lose some energy. However, it's still able to bond, or we won't be able to even see those vapor. So essentially, you're going to have some water lost on the leaves that's laying on the leaves and that get evaporated. And those water that's on the leaf, they will pull the water that's still in the leaf up and outside. So one water falls out, the water that's attached to it tries to hold on to it and make sure it doesn't fall out. But the fact is, these two water are bound so strongly to the other. But however, it's not as strong as gravity. Gravity is still able to pull the water downwards, which means the water will eventually fall out and pull the water that's trying to pull it back outside along with it. Now, here's the thing I talked about earlier. Cohesion. Water molecules, they're attracted by themselves because they have hydrogen bonds. Now, if you took chemistry or fast tracking, you learn that you can make hydrogen bonds from 3 elements: hydrogen, nitrogen, and fluorine. Sorry, oxygen, nitrogen, fluorine. So these two forms hydrogen bonds. And essentially is that hydrogen bond is literally the strongest intermolecular forces that you will ever find. Meaning waters, they stick really, really close to each other, and they don't really fall out that much. Now, adhesion. So xylem, if you learn about proteins, xylem is actually polar. All right, they have a charge. They have a charge difference between their molecules. So when water is attracted to these polar molecules, and water being polar itself, the positive ends of water is going to be attracted. So essentially, water will stick onto the walls of the xylem and climb up by itself. So one water molecule, let me use my laser. One water molecule is here, and there's a water molecule following it. So this water climbs up, and it holds on to the water that's following it. So it goes up, and then the one behind it goes up and up and up. Essentially, it's going to climb up. Simple. Now, vascular tissue, we're going to talk about foam. Foam is basically the counterpart of, well, xylem, it transports sugar and nutrients and basically food. It has no nuclei and it has plates at each ends. These little things that make them look like bamboos. These their companion cells have nuclei and carry out life functions for both cells. They are alive at maturity, unlike xylem, which kind of dies. So the companion cells, they actually manage life functions for these tubes, even though we don't think they're really alive. But yeah, phloem are alive, and they actually allow bidirectional nutrient transport. So the thing that you learn in grade 9, which shows that xylem moves up and phloem moves down, that's actually wrong. Phloem moves down and up because the leaf also needs nutrients, not just your roots, they also need to grow. Transport of nutrients, so glucose is converted into sucrose for transport. And plants, this process of transporting is all called translocation. This whole process. So it moves from areas of production, basically the leaves because you're photosynthesizing, if that's a word, to the areas where you need it. Like, let's say your roots, they need it. So common sources of nutrients includes mesophyll cells. Why? Because mesophyll, they do photosynthesis. Now, in the area of need, and we put on sinks here, sink, they are more like roots, alright? Or you don't, essentially it could be flower too, but we usually say it's roots. So it has areas, it's basically an area of rapid growth. Remember your meristems from your first page. You're growing extremely fast. Hundreds of cells is produced, and you're trying to grow. Your plant is trying to grow longer to have more water in the soil and grow its roots further. Pressure flow. Ooh. So most nutrients are pushed into the phloem, and pressure builds up as sources as more sugar is produced and more water moves to balance. So pressure will eventually push the sugar down to any sink that uses up the sugar. Sugars can move from any source to any sink. It can be in any direction. So basically, let's just picture this was closed. There was a door here. This was closed. And there's a door here. This was closed. So you have a bunch of nutrients just stuck in here. They don't move anywhere. They have nowhere to go. What are they going to go back? There's more being produced. What are they going to go down? They can't use them that fast. The doors are closed. So suddenly when you have a door here that's open, these things, they all whoosh, all of them go in there. And they enjoy this happy place to live. And this is where they are alive. They are the sink cells. They're the place that needs them. I think that's it, yeah? Yeah, there's no more. Yep. Essentially today you're just gonna know how stuff transports and all of your cells, especially meristems, and the thing that I see people confuse the most is apical intercalary and vascular and K-beam. So these two are pretty different. These two are pretty easy to remember because their name right here. Vascular produced vascular, the other one produced the other one. Simple. Now, lateral meristems is also different from apical, as we taught. Apical is right here, and intercalary is right here, and your lateral down the bottom. They're increase your circumference essentially. Yeah, thermal tissue, special epidermal ground. You just gotta know your tissues, and yeah, do your notes. Your test is in 3 days. We're fast tracking this unit because I want to get to the actual fun stuff.